This podcast is for a mature audience and may be viewed as inappropriate or insensitive to some. Listener discretion is advised. The intention is to share conversation of like and unlike-minded individuals as they try to be the best them they can be in a life full of challenges, searching for love, acceptance, and positivity. Call 669-241-1422 and share yourself or catch up with Sweet Baby J for an anonymous face-to-face interview. Feel free to call in with questions, stories, thoughts, or anything you would love to talk about and share. Nothing is off the table when talking sweet with Sweet Baby J at 669-241-1422.
Ladies and gents and ladies, once again, you are here talking sweet with the one and only Sweet Baby J. As always, it's a no face, no case scenario, if you like. We have this young lady here. Young lady, would you like to remain anonymous or would you like to share your identity?
I'm going to remain anonymous, sir.
Wow, you sound like you're on trial, but...
Well, just in case anything could be used against me, I'm going to just go ahead and stay anonymous. It wasn't me.
Smart move. You out here like the Shaggy. I like it.
Right. It wasn't me.
You reached out because you have some things going on in your life. Apparently, you have had some entanglements with some femdom and your religious belief. I don't think it sounds like there was some conflict of interest there. Am I correct in that?
It's interesting because it was like I realized that I wasn't confused. The issue is dealing with family and society and how they view you and just realizing that everybody's accountable for themselves. And once I realized that I shouldn't hide certain things for the sake of other people, then I was cool. The people wasn't cool, but I was cool.
So you were definitely cool with what you were doing, where you were at in your skin.
Right.
But others were not. Did they know what you were doing?
I had some friends that was like really open-minded, but my mom, nah, we ain't gonna tell her because she a Jehovah Witness, so I couldn't.
Okay, wait. So your mom is Jehovah Witness. Are you a practicing Jehovah Witness, sir? I don't know. What would be the term?
Just Jehovah Witness.
Oh, okay. Do you practice Jehovah Witness as well?
No, I think that it's a good guide for life in general. So there's certain things that I'm in agreement with, but like I don't follow the doctrine or anything like that. Like, I kind of picked and choose what I thought was applicable to my life.
What part of your life was the part that you felt that some would not agree with, and the fact that you had some open-minded friends that was down with it? What were you doing?
Doing anything. Okay, so it's kind of an interesting story. So it's actually my fault that my mom's a Jehovah Witness.
Oh.
Because, so there's a lot to know about Jehovah Witnesses. So one thing I will say, if anybody want to get into business, like you don't need to go to Wharton or anything like that. Just become a Jehovah Witness. Their marketing strategies is on point. And honestly, I use some of that now. Like they're very strategic in a lot of things. So I remember I was younger and there was this old lady and she was ruthless. She was going to get us to get that Bible study. And me and my mom, it would be so funny because this old lady looked so innocent and like we'd be in the back of the bodega hiding behind the chips trying to avoid this old lady. And I will never forget, I wish I would have just minded my own business. The kids were talking too much because I didn't understand. Cause I'm like, well, what does she want? What people thought were thugs, this lady did not fit. So I really didn't understand like the level of fear of like why my mom was running away. And she was all aggravated. She like, yeah, because she's trying to get me to get a Bible study. So I'm like, well, what's wrong with studying the Bible? Because I'm all cute and innocent. I'm like 11. What's wrong with studying the Bible? Oh, you don't like Jesus? I mean, come on. Like, what you supposed to say to your child after they say that? So, see, so that's where it all went sour because, of course, the lady was more than happy to do the Bible study because, I was kind of looking at my mother funny, too, like, oh, you a heathen. You don't want to study the Bible. So at that time of my life, I was actually very into it because they have different segments. And I like the setup. Like, honestly, again, if I wanted to do any kind of marketing strategies, honestly, I would do a lot of things that they've done because they had their ways of getting the children. Like, they had children books with the Bible stories and stuff like that and the videos. And then they had the books for the teenagers. And then they had adult books.
Different levels.
And Right. And I mean, it was very, very, very smart. So I love the kiddie stuff, and it was nice because you have like friends built in and they're all clean, wholesome kids. Cause that was another thing too. I was raised in Bed-Stuy. So, a lot of the kids was kind of ratchet. So my mother wasn't trying to let me hang out with them. But the nice Jehovah Witness kids, oh yeah, we could all hang out together. So that was cool.
You're talking a lot about being a kid. And I know a lot of kids, it's just natural to have a birthday party, but Jehovah Witness do not celebrate birthday parties, right?
See, now that's how they get you. Like, for me, the way it was posed to me, it was almost like, do you want to celebrate your birthday and have a very short life, like after you die and that's it? Or would you rather have everlasting life and then you'll have forever birthdays, even though you ain't celebrating it? So, I took choice B. I just felt like it was smarter, be able to live forever versus trying to celebrate like what they would call pagan holidays. So like a lot of the holidays like birthdays, Easter, definitely Halloween. That kind of goes without saying.
So birthday is a pagan celebration?
Right. So I kind of, and you know what? This is actually what led to my demise in the religion. I remember being about 12, and again, the marketing was strong, and I was kind of like that old lady we was running away from. Like, I was very determined, and I wanted to have my own Bible study, like really, really bad. So I kind of went on the faith thing in terms of me not celebrating my birthday until this lady asked me, well, why I don't celebrate your birthday. So I didn't even really want to know for myself. I kind of more wanted to know the answer to tell her, so she was going to come join us. Because I'm like, my marketing is very on point. I will say that even as a young kid. But then when I asked them, well, what is the exact reason? And they're like, well, people just have to have faith. And I'm like, well, I got faith. Like, you ain't got to worry about me. But like, how am I supposed to convince this lady? So then they was like, well, in the Bible, they was like, well, for starters, Jesus never celebrated his birthday. And I'm like, okay, but Jesus never got married, but like we could do that. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. I'm like, can you give me something else? Give me something else. But I was determined because I was going to get my first Bible study. And then when they was like, well, the 3 stories that we have in the Bible, the people did something bad. Now, I don't remember all the stories verbatim because, again, I was a kid. And, okay, well, I'm 25 a couple of times over. I'll say that. You know what I mean? So it was a long time ago. Man, but the 3 stories, it was kind of like, I think there was like a woman who was jealous and wanted someone's husband or the wife to die or something like that. And then somebody wanted someone's head for a present. Like, it was kind of savagery or whatever. But it's kind of like...
Pretty extreme, I think.
Right. So it's I'm like, well, I was just trying to eat some cake. I wasn't trying to chop nobody's head off or nothing like that. But all right, because again, a lot of it is go on faith. And on some level, I do agree with that because some things is just too complex for the average human to understand. Like, I don't know what goes on in the universe and all those. Maybe that's just beyond my pay grade. So, all right, certain things I agree with faith, but then certain things is kind of like, I don't. That's when it started to go sour because, and again, I was not really trying to question them, but one thing about this
they didn't agree with your questions though.
Right. It's kind of like if you ask too many questions, then it's like, oh, you don't have enough faith. Oh, what's going on? Oh, are you trying to do bad things? Like, no, I'm trying to get the Bible study. Like, I'm not. Like, and the interesting thing about that was that I was like honest Abe at the time, you know what I mean? Like, I was very innocent. Well, I mean, as innocent as a Bed-Stuy child could be, but I was innocent. Some of the parents, and I mean, I've spoken to my mom about this. She was kind of like, no, that's not true. But I don't know, maybe she just didn't see things from my perspective. But I noticed that, like, the more questions I started to have, there was like whispers, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, it's like some of the kids, their parents didn't want me to hang out with them. And I was like, wait a minute, she don't want to get her back blown out underneath the stairs. Like,
okay,
why you don't want her to hang out with me?
Whoa, hold on one sec. I do know that in order to be a Jehovah Witness, you're not supposed to be having sex before marriage. Am I correct in that?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But you knew people that were Jehovah Witness that was out here having their teenage or their fun.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
But because I questioned that one thing that like the parents felt like, and it was so interesting because it's like, I'm not that powerful. Like even if I wanted to do something, like if your child followed me, trust me, they was a willing participant. Like, you know what I mean? But for whatever the reason, and it gets really deep. I mean, I'm sure we'll touch on this later, but they do a lot of shunning. They call it staying pure and staying clean. So like they don't want to mix with others because they feel like, oh yeah, because if you mix a clean rag with a dirty rag, like that's definitely a thing they would say. If you use a clean rag, mix a clean rag with a dirty rag, all the rags are going to be dirty. That one rag is not going to purify the dirty rags.
Dirty one.
Right. So I guess I was dirty just for asking questions, but the big kiss was real dirty. And, well, don't worry, though. The congregation found out how dirty it was because 2 years later, homegirl showed up pregnant. I was like, ah.
So wait, what happened to her, I guess her and her family when she showed up pregnant? What happened with her and being, was she shunned or?
So she wasn't. So see, this is where a lot of the teenagers get smart. So when you join, especially like if you're born into it, there's a lot of pressure to get baptized. Now, if you are ever baptized, it don't matter what age you were, like if you were 6 years old and you got baptized and then you become a teenager and you slip up, well, that's it. You're going to get disfellowshipped and shunned. And I guess it's like a whole series of steps that you have to do in order to come back. Now, if you never get baptized, then they'll forever talk to you about baptism. But like if you fall short, then there's pretty much no consequence. So that's how come I got smart. Well, I ain't gonna get baptized then because I'm not sure if this is something I want to do. Even I have a cousin now who he got baptized when he was very young, and family get-togethers could be a little awkward because he is disfellowship versus me. I would almost argue that I have the same level of biblical knowledge that he does. Okay, maybe he has a little bit more, but like, it's not like I don't know what the religion is, but I could go to all the gatherings because I've never been baptized. So it's interesting where it's like, if you get baptized, I mean, again, you can come back, but like, there's no like, you lived your life and you're going to the family cookout. Like, that's not going to happen if the family's a Jehovah Witness family. Like, even me, which I'm not too proud of it, but I had a baby out of wedlock. That didn't stop me. I'm still able to go anywhere that I need to go. Meanwhile, actually, that cousin kind of did things the right way for the most part. But whatever his slip up was, I don't think it was worse than having a baby out of wedlock. But like, he got shunned and I didn't. And the difference was that I didn't get baptized. So it's kind of like, it's almost, if I fall short with anything, then it's like they feel like it's their mission to try to save me.
To purify
So it's almost like, right. So it's like, let's bring her in. But it's kind of like, if you were already baptized, then
when you know better, do better.
You turned your back. Right.
Wow. I've heard people say.
So that girl, nothing happened to her because she never got baptized.
I've heard people say that. And this is not me. This is just what I've heard. And I'm not putting it out there that it's true or not. But I've heard people say that it's pretty much damn near like a cultish, the way that they force people to bring in people and follow and how it is and the fact that people get shunned. Would you agree or disagree with such a statement?
You know, depends on what day you ask me. Because, I mean, honestly, I feel that it's very similar in a lot, like to a lot of religions in a sense where it's kind of like, all right, this is what the word says, which I actually wanted to touch on that before I continue, because there is a difference between what the doctrine says and what the actual word says versus whoever the messenger was of that word. So that plays a role sometimes too, because sometimes they'll be telling you, and I think that's another reason why I kind of have an issue with the religion, because sometimes they'll be like, because the Bible said X, Y, Z, and then I'm like, no, actually that was your interpretation. Like, it's in English and I read it. That's not what it said, or I interpreted it differently. So you can't necessarily say that I'm wrong for something if we read the same thing and got a different message from the same passage.
Very true. So does the Jehovah Witness read the same Bible as other religions? Well, let's say Christianity or Catholic. Is it the same Bible or is it different? I think it's different because they utilize the New Testament Bible, and I think Catholics, don't give me the line, but I think they use the King James Version. If I'm not mistaken, because I know there's some Bibles that got the like you all thou XYZ 1 2 3, and like there's, when I read it, it was like standard English. It was like, okay, like that was easier for me to read than
some of those other words. But so I'm assuming that it might be different. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming it's different because I know it's not the King James version.
I couldn't tell you because I am not the most religiously.
You heathen too? You gonna join the wild side?
Yeah, I'm not the most religiously empowered person. I have faith, but I'm not one. I could not quote a verse at all. I don't think so. But it's crazy. What was it that you were doing that you said that some of your friends were open-minded as to your, don't think I forgot about that. So what were you doing that would not be accepted?
Okay, well, by the time I was 14, your girl was done. I was like, no. And I mean, it was funny because like my mom was trying to whoop me to go to the Kingdom Hall. I'm like, okay, well, we both gonna miss it because I ain't going, So, so by that point, it kind of was like, I really didn't have the actually, I did have Jehovah Witness friends because they was kind of on the same time I was, except they were like a lot more bold. I wouldn't say that my interesting extracurricular activities, it was kind of after that time. It was more when I was about 20 or 21.
What were those activities? And that's what I want to know.
Don't make me say it.
Say it. I want to hear it. Say it.
So I used to be Dominatrix is a strong word. I call myself a baby dom because I was like the most extreme, but I definitely whooped a couple of people and tied them up and golden showers and
Wait, I'm in shock. This is very different from what we were talking about previously.
Oh, I know.
So wait, you were tying people up, knots and all that good stuff, and golden showers.
Okay, wait. I have to explain.
Yeah, thank you for even saying that. You have to explain. Yes, please do.
I stumbled on it. It was an accident. Like it's not like I sat down. It was like, oh boy, this should be fun. Like, no. So
how did you stumble on it?
All right. So I had a daughter, right? Well, I have. She's still with us.
Thank God. But go ahead.
Right, but the baby daddy, he was a no bueno. He was like always just like playing games, like that typical girl. Why'd you even pick him? Kind of a thing. Like he's one of those. Okay. So back in the day, the chat line used to be popping. Like you probably go like in the back of like the Craigslist or the backstage or page or whatever that was.
Oh. And
they had them chat line numbers. So I was bored, mad because he done told me some stupid story that ain't make no daggone sense. And I just kind of had a temper tantrum on the chat. I was just like, yeah. And I don't remember everything I was saying, but I'm like, you know what? Women deserve to be served. And we should be the master over y'all. Matter of fact, let me tie you up. But I was just really being stupid. Like I really didn't think much was going to come of that. And of course, I got a whole bunch of like FUB, I'm trying not to cuss, but there was a couple of dudes that was like, you're wildin'. Like then got one that's like, yes, mistress.
Oh.
You should definitely be served. So I was like, huh? What you mean? So I'm thinking he's playing like I'm playing. So, I'm kind of going through the back and forth. But then, okay, so I got scared. First I got scared. I was like, oh, no. So I hung up. But then I kept getting those messages. I said, wait a minute. I think this is a thing.
So wait, this is a phone call?
Right, on the chat line. I don't, back in the day, like
I have no clue. I've never done it. What is this chat line? I have no clue.
What? You not do the chat line? Oh, Lord. So, like, they had like these chat lines, like basically like people that was looking to date or whatever else, because you can put whatever up there, and you just basically would just put a message, like almost like an answering machine, like hi, my name is blah blah, and I'm looking for XYZ 123, and people would leave messages based on what you said.
Wow. So
I had a funky old message, obviously, because again I was mad, and I was just like, what, to hell with all of y'all, and next time I'm an XYZ and dude, but I was just being stupid. Like I had no idea that there's like a whole like underground society.
Wow.
With this. So by the third message, I said, wait a minute, I think this is a thing. So I got curious. I start talking to the dude. So I'm like, so tell me about this whole slave master thing. So he's just like, yeah, in my life, I think this dude was a doctor. Oh yeah, I've had doctors and lawyers, and yeah, it's been very interesting. So I started talking to him, and he was really breaking it down. So I said, all right, well, I don't know if I'm ready to start anything yet, but I'm going to learn from you. So, I'm following you, but you following me because this is how it's supposed to work, right? So, I'm in charge, but I'm following you.
Oh, wow.
So, like, he gave me, like, a lot of information, like, different websites and stuff. And so then I was like, okay, so then how does it work? I was like, so what's in it for me? So you just want me to whoop you and that's it? And he's like, well, it's whatever you want. So I'm like, well, what you mean? If I would have known then what I know now, because I feel like my rates was cheap. Like,
so what were you charging? Like, what was up?
Okay, so I wasn't necessarily charging, but I would like ask for stuff because I didn't really know that I could. Like, it was still very weird to me. Like, I mean, I was a Jehovah Witness girl, like I come from a very pure life. Like, I don't know about these things, but we was gonna find out, right? I started off small. Like, okay, I want to go to this restaurant. Oh, man. But see, that's the part that was a little embarrassing because it was like I would make them like trail behind me. But then I would never forget one time I had this long red trench coat. And then the damn slave kept holding the back of the car. I'm like, yo, well, if you're supposed to be listening to what I said, I don't want you to pick it up. Like, I just want you to stay behind me. Like, what are you doing? It took me a while to understand because I think that a lot of them they know what a newbie looks like. And I felt like they were trying to piss me off on purpose, so I would react on purpose. But like, I've always had, so it's interesting because sometimes the master isn't really the master, right? Because especially, and see, that's when it gets funny with money. And that's the reason why, I definitely got money, which I'm going to tell you about that in a second, but I never did it in a sense of like, well, you're paying me for my time because it's like, you're really not in control now because it's like, they know you want the money and there's certain things they may want you to do. And I definitely have boundaries. I'm not doodling on nobody. I don't care how much you pay me. Like, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Right. Like, and the thing about it, but see, some of them, like, because there's a lot of girls that they just smell desperate. So it's like they will kind of do it in a way where they would try to hold money over you, be like, well, if you want this money, bitch, then, but then it's like, well, wait a minute, because if I'm supposed to be beating you, how you stunning me? So
exactly.
That's the reason why it was like, I made them give me things, but that was never really like the primary thing. I just wanted to know how much they was going to let me do.
So you was just testing the waters, checking out for the limits.
Right, I was just testing the waters. Like, I wasn't really trying to make like a career out of it. But see, looking back though, maybe I should have.
You missed out some opportunity. So what was the worst thing that you have ever, well, I say the worst, but it was their request. So what was the extreme of what you've done with someone? You already said golden shower. I would consider that pretty extreme.
Yeah,
that wasn't nothing. So
I definitely pegged them. Like, that was fun.
Wait, pegged them?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to explain. Pegged them as in,
and they said,
oh my God.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
And it was fun. Fun is the word you describe that as.
Okay, it was funny. Like, it was funny. Okay, you gotta understand, right? Like,
I don't need to understand, but I would like to hear about it.
Okay, these guys, like, some of them, when I had my own little interviews with them, and I was like, well, why do you like this? And they was like, well, they feel very powerful in their day-to-day life. So it's like, it feels like a release for them to be dominated. And I think that a lot of them got a bonus out of it because, like, I'm black. And I don't know if maybe there was some kind of stick twisted, like, role reversal kind of a thing. Like, okay, now I'm black and I get to have a slave. Like, I don't really know. But I thought it was funny as shit. I mean, one time, one of my old high school substitute teachers ended up being one. Yes.
Your own high school substitute teacher was one of your slaves?
He wasn't like in the stable. Like, he just like, it was just like only like twice because I just couldn't believe. I was just more shocked. Like, oh my God.
Said in the stable? What do you mean?
Yeah, like, well, so, like, you have, like, I mean, it's just like dating anybody else where, you might have, like, all right, like, this the crew, but then, other people might float around from time to time. Like, It was kind of like that. Like, it wasn't like he wasn't important or anything like that. So it was like, okay, like, it was just more the curiosity, like, oh, wow, you get down like that? I know.
And this was one of
I wasn't really that interested.
Wow. Did you make him do homework?
Yeah, the fine homework.
Oh, man. So what was that interaction like?
Well, I felt like he had his panties in a bunch when I was in high school.
Uh-huh.
And so I made him have his panties in a bunch after high school.
So you made him wear women's underwear?
I did, and I gave him wedgies and stuff, and like I know, just like stupid stuff. And then of course, anytime he came through, like sometimes I might be like, I need $200, or oh, I like these shoes, give me these shoes, or if I want, like I had a camera, I needed a new camera, so like I'll be like,
did you peg him?
Honestly, oh yeah, and I took a lot of press because he wasn't that whole. It's like the feeling of feeling very powerless, like you're in high school, and like teachers are people of authority, and he was kind of a douche. And I finally had the opportunity to give him payback. Yes, I absolutely took advantage of that.
Wow. Did you use lube?
No.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say, man. So wait. So
well, you never asked me. I probably would have gave it to him. I mean, look, hey, okay, for starters, I didn't have like those tools because like, why would I need it in my house? If you wanted it, you should have bought it. I probably would have used it. That's this for you ain't bring it.
So these were their toys.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have that stuff in my house. Like again, cause it was like it wasn't a whole lifestyle for me, but it was kind of like just a whole shock factor. Because I'm like, oh my god, so y'all gonna let me do this, and then you're gonna give me money too? I mean, come on. Yeah, so that's like I'm like, well, it wasn't like I set out to do it, but it was a lot of fun, or you get to go like a lot of places, but then sometimes it got a little too weird.
Why was it too weird?
So again, it's kind of, I guess too, I was also going through something in my life again. Like I was kind of like not liking men at that time. So it was easy, but then it was short lived. It's like, okay, I feel better about the Y chromosome now. So I'm not as angry anymore. And I feel like they sensed it because I feel like the reason why they liked me is because I was very authentic. Like, again, it was not a job for me or anything like that. So I started being a little too nice. Sometimes when I would see them and I'd be like, oh, how was your day? And, they would get a little offended.
They would be offended because you were nice?
Right. I'm not supposed to care about their day. Like, they're just supposed to ask me how I was feeling. It's all supposed to be about serving me.
Knowing what you know about these men in power, how do you interact with people that would be in a position of power today? Do you speak to them? Are you still like, hey, how are you doing? Or are you like, yo, what do you want? How do you interact when you know about this lifestyle and what people in a position of power may be into?
Honestly, I think it definitely helped me not to be intimidated by anyone, because some of them really were like, okay, I ain't gonna talk about where they were, but I've definitely been with at least one politician. And no one would ever think that. So it's kind of like a lot of times, like people get like really intimidated by them. And it's like, yo, they're regular people at the end of the day. And they're basically hiding because they can't be honest and say, oh, I like XYZ 1, 2, 3, because people are going to make fun of them. And I just feel like, why do people care so much about what people do in the privacy of their own homes? It's like, it's their private parts and they're in private. So like, why you care? Like, why is it a running joke? First of all, if your sex was clean, you probably did it wrong anyway. Like, it's supposed to be nasty, so like, why do you care so much? I don't really understand.
It's the truth. Well, you know what? It's funny you say that, because a lot of people are the reverse. They invite people into their homes, into their personal lives, all on Instagram and things like that. But at the same time, that's actually not the lives that they live. They're out here, a lot of people are out here posing. So you are getting it the reverse of that, as far as people are really one way in their professional life, but there's something different behind closed doors.
Right. I mean, and you got to think about it too, and it kind of makes sense, because with money comes power. Now, if you happen to have been attracted from the rip, okay, that's an extra bonus for you. But even if you the ugliest person ever and you got a little bit of dough and then you got a little bit of power, you could probably command anything you want. So there's a lot of thirsty women out there, and I guess men too, because some of them gay too. They'll do anything. So I guess that's where the appeal is, where they're kind of like, they want something different. You see what I'm saying? And some of them like really different things. I do understand that, because it's kind of like anything else. If you get the same thing over and over and it wasn't fulfilling to you, then you probably get bored and you want to spice things up. Like, that's kind of what I see. Like, I seen like a lot who just wanted to spice things up, and it was cool in the beginning, but I didn't last. Well, I can't say I didn't last long, because I did have a couple that kind of strung along for like 10 years. But like,
that's a long time. Sheesh.
But it was on and off though. Like, it might have been like 2 years went, and then like, hey, how you doing? And then another year passed. So
were these guys married?
Not like I was consistent. Oh yeah, there was one. There was one, the first one, because again, I didn't really understand much, and he was getting very, very bold, like, because obviously, like, you ain't coming to my house, because, you know, that's kind of crazy, and how you supposed to, I mean, I'm in a black neighborhood, how you supposed to explain this old white man in my house? Oh, no, nah. So we would go to the hotel, and the thing about it, though, there was two things that was problematic for me. One, again, I felt like, okay, well, if it's my show, like, I'm doing what I want to do, and you're old. Like, I don't want to be with you in that way. Like, I just want to beat you up and go home. Like, ain't nobody trying to do anything else.
Oh my God.
I felt like
they would try to have intercourse with you?
This one did. The majority of them didn't, but this one, after a while, but see, I think this is what I learned too, because I started getting greedy because, I was asking for mad money now. I'm like, yo, I need $1,000.
They would pay you?
I guess after a while. Yeah, so I guess after a while, it's like, all right, well, what's in it for me? Well, you already got whooped. What you mean what's in it for you? Like, and I feel like because there are a lot of women in it that, I'm not even going to say they're not authentic, but let's just say that's included in their price and that ain't included in my price.
Oh.
So I feel like he felt like he had a little bit of entitlement. It's like, oh, nah, we definitely ain't doing it. Ew, we will not be doing that. So that was a little problematic. But then I had some other ones that was cool. But then, like, there was one when I had asked him for money, I know he gave me his rent money. Like, I thought he was paying all the other bills first. And then it got weird because then he's like, well, how about I just give you everything and then you just pay everything and then just give me an allowance? And I was like, oh, nah, that was kind of too much for me.
Wow.
But I probably should have did it, though. I probably should have did it. I don't know.
He wanted to give you all of his money and then you give him an allowance. That was a part of his thing.
Right. Like, see, there's different levels of control. Like, there's some people who just kind of want it as, okay, it was fun and it was a fun experience and that's it. And then some people, it was like a whole lifestyle thing. And that's the thing that it took me a while to understand. Like, it wasn't a lifestyle for me. It was just like, oh, wow, that's new. Let me try it. But then I want to go about my life. But then I remember I had one who, like, she would ask me, like, can I go out with my friends? I'm like, why are you asking me? He's like, oh, but I just want to know. And what can I eat? And I'm like, oh, nah. Like, I'm gonna control you when I see you. Like, I'm not trying to do right. Or there was some that would ask, oh, can I give myself a release? It's like, well, you in your own house by yourself. Like, you do whatever you want. Wow. Like, there's some of them that really, so to me, that was a little too intense for me. Like, it wasn't really that deep for me. Like, I don't have that desire to, like, control people in that way. So, yeah, I just wanted to do it for, like, the little shits and giggles and keep it pushing. But it kind of got weird.
You were a Jehovah Witness that was really into the religion. Heck, you wanted to start your own Bible study. You was going hard for it too. Was there ever a conflict like, I shouldn't be doing this? Or did you ever go and confess to them like, yo, I've been doing this and I feel bad? Was there anything like that? Or did you ever feel like that?
Well, okay, so again, none of that was going on at that time because I was still a kid. But it's interesting because it's like, they're like, oh, you should tell us. Well, I guess it's like any parent, right? Like, you should tell us how you feel, but you can't really tell them how you feel because then it's like, well, why are you having these unnatural thoughts? And then
those are natural thoughts, by the way, but go ahead.
Right, but it's unnatural there, and it's kind of like, oh, and another thing that irritated me because it almost made me feel like they thought that I was stupid. It's like any bad thought that I had, or at least according to them, it's like I had to be influenced by somebody else. And it's like, well, so I couldn't just be a free thinker and just wonder this thing on my own. Like, why do you feel like everything had to be some deep influence? And then to the point where they went to the opposite way because first it's like, oh, who's influencing you? Then I'm like, no, like, I was just having these thoughts and I have these questions. So it went from that to you heathen. It's like, well, I wouldn't go that far either, like wow. I'm just questioning. So it was just really interesting where it's like, there's a lot of things that are considered to be impure, not just in this religion, but just in general, a lot of religions. But like this one specifically, if you are baptized and you had, I don't want you to quote me, but I'm almost thinking if you have too many of those impure thoughts, that could probably get you disfellowship.
Really?
I don't think it's just a matter of
carrying out an action. Even the thoughts.
Right, because because it's still kind of like, because you know what, there's a scripture where it was like, even if you look at another man's wife, it's kind of like, well, you committed fornication in your mind.
Oh, well, I'm a guilty man.
Guilty as charged, right?
Yeah.
So that definitely was a problem for me, because it's kind of like, I remember getting in trouble for going to another church. Funny.
Really?
Because, yeah, like, and it's funny because I was a little, rebellious at the time. So there might be times that I might have came home like a couple of hours past curfew and I might have got yelled at, but nothing happened. Well, my best friend had a sister that was rehearsing in a choir. So I wanted to hear her, I wanted to hear them sing or whatever. So, I went, actually came home way earlier than my curfew because, again, it was a choir thing. I felt the Jesus that day when I went to the church. Okay. So I came back home and I don't know why I thought it was a good idea. I just felt like I felt good and I wanted to share, but it backfired because it's like, you went to another church, and I was grounded for 2 weeks. I was like, wait, but
for a church,
I could come home 3 hours late, and I'm Gucci. But I went to another church, and the sun was still out when I came home, and I got in trouble. Like, that makes sense.
So, do you feel that the extreme mindset, or it seems like you felt that it was extreme?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you feel that actually also encouraged you to be out here pegging dudes and stuff like that? Like, yo, I'm going to live my best life. Come here, boy. Like,
well, no, but at the same time, I felt, maybe, because I feel like there was never going to be true acceptance unless you embrace the truth, because that's what they call the religion, the truth. So it's kind of like, I guess on some level, it's kind of like, well, it's all bad anyway, so.
Would you call it the truth?
What's one sin versus the other?
Exactly. They call it the truth, but would you say it's the truth?
Mm-hmm. Nah, I don't think it's that. That's some interesting point. But honestly, here's my thing. When I first left, it was just kind of my initial experiences of why they were acting weird when I was asking a lot of questions. But as I got older and I really started doing research, now these things are huge problems. Like, there was an article that came out a couple of years ago, which it's actually been a thing back and forth, where the Catholic Church, there was like a lot of the legal proceedings or whatever, because, there was like a lot of molesters and stuff.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, the Jehovah Witness religion has the same thing. Like, they have the same issues. Right. Now, I'm not gonna, again, there's bad people in every religion. Now, I don't want it to be like, oh, those Jehovah Witnesses, and no. But one thing that made me go, hold up, is that they have this thing called a two-witness rule. So basically, there were legal arguments to say where people were trying to sue the Jehovah Witness Foundation, I guess. I don't know. The higher, they was trying to sue them. I don't know exactly what their title is, because the argument was that should the clergy be mandated reporters? And a lot of times, like, if something happens, like in a family, somebody will go and talk to the elders. So the elders are kind of like the pastors. It's almost like they take turns being pastors. Like, it's not like one person who talks all the time. Like, every week there's someone different giving a talk. Okay. And they're the elders, right? So if something happens, you will go and you say, elder such and such, this is what's going on. And it's almost like they will do their own internal trial. But a lot of it kind of fell short because, like, let's say if a child was being molested, there weren't two witnesses. It's like, well, that ain't really something that happens in public. That happens in private. So basically, the only way, and I don't even know, like, okay, what do you do after the fact? Okay, so let's say there was an extra witness. Do you then call the cops? Like, it seems like there were a lot of notes, and they found a lot of those notes, but it always fell short. Or even if the police would come and be like, oh, did such and such talk to you about XYZ? They would just be like, no comment. Like, they really didn't support it. Wow. And that, to me, it was like, okay, forget anything that I've ever gone through as a kid, like in terms of all that, shunning part. This is horrible. You know, and that's kind of what got me, like, that whole two-witness rule. And again, if you Google it, it's definitely something that's there. And then the interesting thing is when I tried to have this heart-to-heart with my mom, ordinarily I let her go about her business, but I'm like, you can't be okay with this. And I could tell she was kind of uncomfortable, but she wasn't going to tell me. And then it just kind of been like, well, we just have to keep the faith. I'm like, nah, this is one of those, I need to see it right now. Like, you need to explain this right now. Keep
the faith, also keep the law.
Right, exactly. And then not only that, but like even for my mom, my dad was, he was out there in the streets. I'm just say that. he always came home though. That's one thing I can say. Like I was raised with my dad in my house. He made sure bills was paid, and he always came home. And I wasn't never hungry. Like I had everything. But he was definitely out there, you know. And I'm pretty certain there's probably even more things that I'm getting a little bit now. Right. I'm getting more and more as I get older. So I'm like, But I remember being about 12 and it was just chaos in the house. And it's funny too, because this is also around the time I was studying. So all of this was getting confusing to me because I'm like, but y'all not happy though. Like I thought dad is supposed to be happy. What's going on? And basically my mom, like, you know, well at the time they was trying to make it work. So I appreciate that. They was trying to make it work for me, but they probably could have got divorced. But the thing is, my mom was like, she would not be allowed to get divorced. Wow. So I'm like, well, what you mean? You know? So then, you know, of course, now, I mean, again, at least thank God my dad didn't even put his hands on my mom, because if he ever did, and I found out, but nah, he wasn't that kind of dude.
Like this, don't worry, there's not another person as a witness, so I'm going to go in.
Right. Right. Exactly.
You want to be a witness to this or what?
Right. Just keep your mouth closed and nobody say nothing, right? Wow. But the interesting thing about it is that, you know, when my mom got frustrated, you know, with, you know, whatever they was going through, and I'm like, well, I mean, why don't y'all just get divorced? So, you know, you get you a nice little brother, and well, he was ready doing him, so he good, you know what I mean? Like, exactly. Why are we doing this? And I forgot whatever scripture she was, but basically you can't get divorced. So of course now I'm asking mad questions. I'm like, okay, well, what if he was beating you? It's like, yeah, well, I could get legally separated, but I can't get divorced. Wow. So I said, but wait a minute. So let's say if you started, you know, a relationship with someone and you got married young, let's say 21, you got married.
Things change.
And he's been beating you forever. Then you just got to live the rest of your days single, because again, you can't fornicate. You can't even hold hands, you know, in the Jehovah Witness religion until you're engaged. Get out. To put that in perspective. So it's kind of like
I got to put a ring on it just to hold her pinky.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. Come on, Evan. You know how I would have been shunned. Man, I've done way more than hold some pinkies.
Right, and that's the thing, and it's like I feel like that's a part of the reason why, like, a lot of those that are baptized, sometimes they get married a little too quickly, because there's a lot of things that we would think is basic in dating that you really can't do unless you're at a certain stage. So you hurry up and you get married, but then boom, you ain't really know the person. And if things go really sour, you ain't getting divorced. Like, till death do you part. So that was another thing too. So I was like, wait, what if a wife is getting abused and you know, she decides to leave him when she's 22 and she don't die till she like 80 something? She just got to be single forever? My mom's like, yeah. Nah. I was like, oh, nah. Now I'm trying to figure out what that scripture was now. Like,
now you was like, okay, you know, let me get that leather outfit and that whip right there. I'm better with the leather.
Actually, I think there might have been certain scenarios, which I don't remember all of them, but I think there were certain circumstances where you can get divorced, but you cannot get remarried after getting divorced.
You cannot get remarried after getting a divorce.
Right. And it's only under certain circumstances that you can even get a divorce to begin with.
If you're married and a spouse passes away, can you get remarried?
Yes. Oh. Which, you know, I was watching this show on I think it was on Snap, and I really feel like that wife killed her husband so she could get remarried. Because, see, that's another thing, too. It's one thing when you, as a single person, you're in the religion. If it doesn't work for you, well, you'll be sad that you missed your friends, but you good. But when you have your whole family in it, like if it's been passed down from your grandma, your great-grandma, if you decide to leave the religion and you got baptized, you're leaving your whole family.
When you say leaving your whole family, as in you're not allowed to have any contact?
Okay, now see, that's where interpretation and how each individual people, you know, family does it, because you might have somewhere they're kind of like, all right, well, you ain't baptized, you're disfellowship and it's not cool, and we'll talk to you about it, but you still part of the family. And then you have some that's like, not till we get that letter and it's read in the congregation that you came back, can you come to Sunday dinner or do this and the third. So that's one of those open to interpretation.
When you say letter,
but
what do you mean that letter?
if you get disfellowship, there's going to be an announcement that you've been disfellowshipped.
Do they tell
so
why?
Everybody,
do they tell why you've been disfellowshipped?
No, they're also very nosy. So the rumor probably was going around already before the letter came out. So then they make it official, and it's this whole big thing. Like it goes up to like some headquarters. Like it's a huge thing. It's like it's no small thing.
Wow.
So once everybody done known your business and gave you the shame, the only way they can embrace you is if you get welcomed in the same way they took you out. So the letter has to come through to say, okay, this person is reinstated now at XYZ 1, 2, 3, and then they start off by sitting in the back of the Kingdom Hall, and I guess the better their standing is, the closer they can get to the front.
Word. So it's like a wedding or a funeral, like the original family members sit up front. Your coworkers sit all the way in the back.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And pretty much it's kind of like they talk about like the new system. So they don't believe like when you die, you go to heaven or hell. Like they believe there's a select 144,000 that are the chosen ones that are supposed to go and reign.
How did they come up with that number, 144? Why not 147.5?
Okay, my Bible's a little rusty, but I think it was kind of like the promise to Moses, and it was like 12 tribes or something like that. And that number is actually in the Bible. I did see that, where they kind of broke that down a little bit more. But I guess it was like 12,000 from 12 tribes, and that's how they came up to the 144.
Multiplication, cool.
Right. But here go the interesting part, though. So how do you know who got chosen?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Because, when... Like, I know in the Catholic religion where, they would do communion and they would drink the wine and bite the bread and then pass it around. Mm-hmm. So in the Kingdom Hall... I always thought
that was really gross, but go ahead.
Right. Well, okay, so this might be an upside. Only the chosen ones are allowed.
Oh, good, because I'm like, ugh. When everyone's drinking from that same cup, I'm like, oh, my God.
And what if they backwash, right?
You are.
So on the upside, only the chosen ones are supposed to do that. But then it's kind of like, well, who decides who got chosen? And one time it came out that a chosen one got this fellowship. So I'm like, now wait a minute. Oh. Because this is supposed to be a whole divine intervention kind of a thing. So if you're supposed to be ruling of heaven, how you fell short? Like, maybe there's a logical explanation. I don't want to say that it's some tomfoolery.
Once that happens, are there people like, yeah, I'm up for promotion?
That whole thing is kind of a mystery, because what I was told is that once all the 144,000 ascended, then that's when things are supposed to shake up and start. But it's kind of like, to my understanding, all of them weren't even born yet.
Ah, damn.
So it's like, well, then how long we got to wait? I mean, this has been going on for a while. It's like, again, and maybe some of the facts I might have somewhat messed up, but it's pretty on track. Like it's in the line of, even if one or two things might be a little inaccurate. But I know for certain that the whole 144,000 wasn't born, and I know that there were times that some of them got this fellowship, and again, I'm trying to understand how that would even happen.
Let me tell you, something.
Well, I know how it happened.
Man, let me tell you something, yo. All good things come to an end, yo. Wow, we talked about a lot.
It's a lot.
We talked about, man. Listen, so you're out here pegging dudes. They're
well, not anymore. I've been saved, I guess.
Oh, you've been saved? Oh, okay.
No, I haven't really been. I just kind of, you know what? I got older, and I guess my fear is real. Like, I always was like, okay, I've had really good luck, thank God. Like, nothing's ever happened to me or anything like that. But it's like, if a dude wanted to kidnap me, I was a willing participant. Like, he got the whole kill bag right there. You got restraints, you got tape, you got gags. That is a no bueno. Like,
not at all.
How am I even supposed to explain that? Oh, and one last thing, because this story was kind of funny. What really scared me, there was this one dude, even though he was actually my favorite, but then I kind of was getting a little too nice, and he kind of was trying to entice me to be how I was. And he took me to this really nice massage parlor. Oh, Thai massages, if you've never had one, it's amazing. I'm getting ready, and it's like the his and hers section. So I'm in the hers. He supposed to be in the his, minding his business. Still going sneak in my side. So it was a very interesting dynamic because even though, like, okay, like, obviously, like, I'm the mistress, he's the slave, but, like, in real world, it's kind of the opposite. He's a lawyer as well, a white older dude, and I'm like, listen, I'm not going to hit you out here because if you have any kind of mark, if something happened, how do I explain that?
He wanted to do that in a public setting?
Yes. Like, he was just like, just kick me in my balls. Like, no, I will not.
So
I will not.
Wait, was that a common thing? Did he want to be kicked? Do a lot of these guys want to be kicked in the cojones?
Oh, yeah, that's a standard thing. That's a standard thing.
That's a standard thing.
It's a standard thing.
Wow. What is the response that you get when you kick someone in the balls? Look, I was about to say let's end it, but how does one respond? I would die. How do you, like, I don't know. What do
you know what? They thank me for my service.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. They thank me. But the thing about it, so I did kind of get annoyed, and I was really just kind of just shoving. Like, I wasn't really trying to hurt him. I just wanted him to go. Well, I guess I hit the dude too hard. Did he have a whole asthma attack in the girl section? And I did not know he had asthma, so that was another thing that I started to realize, like, yo, what if people got medical issues and then something happened? Like, how do I explain this? Like, this dude is all beat up. I'm black. Well, I'm supposed to say he was a woman participant. Like, come on.
So wait, you went ham on him? Like,
well, he had marks from before. That time I had just hit him. Like, it wasn't like I wasn't trying to hurt him. I just wanted him to go back, like, go where you're supposed to be at. He had a whole asthma attack. Here come the Asian lady flying through asking me what happened. I don't even know what's wrong with the dude because I didn't even know he had asthma. It just looked very bad, and I was very embarrassed. You know what I mean? So it's like, see,
mess up your whole massage experience. Your zen was off.
Oh, it was off. I was cussing the whole time.
Wow. Listen here.
Yeah, so that's that. So I just kind of calmed down. Like, I'm at peace now. I no longer want to hit people for fun. It's not funny. Well, okay, no, it's always going to be funny, but, like, I don't want to do it no more. Like.
Listen, I really appreciate you for talking sweet with Sweet Baby J. It's always
all right, thank you.
a no-face, no-case scenario where you have the ability to speak about anything, anonymously or not. I think it's a good thing that you stayed anonymous because you said a lot, and I appreciate you for it.
Oh, yeah, that stuff I was going to stay anonymous.
Hey, listen, if you ever want to call again, reach out, 669-241-1422. Nothing's off the table when talking sweet. Have a good one.
All right, well, thank you.
No doubt.
That's about it.